In 1 week, world leaders will gather in Alberta for the G7 summit. Kananaskis and the surrounding area will be on lockdown with tight security and restricted access.
We're talking about thousands of security personnel on the ground.
Welcome to Kananaskis and the 2025 G7 Leaders Summit. I'm pleased to all. Mr. President, welcome to Canada. It's a great honor. Happy birthday, a few days short.
We've always supported Israel. We have for a long period of time, strongly, and Israel's doing very well right now.
The eyes of the world are fixed on a luxury mountain retreat nestled deep within the majestic Canadian Rockies, where the most powerful leaders of the G7 have gathered. But unlike summits of the past, marked by polite handshakes and carefully choreographed smiles, this year's meeting unfolds under the ominous shadow of mounting global crises. The raging conflict in Ukraine, the tinderbox of West Asia, and the violent tremors shaking the global economy. Once, the alliance between the United States and Canada was an unbreakable bond.
Mr. President, welcome to Canada. It's a great honor. Happy birthday, a few days short.
Fortified by shared borders, intertwined histories, and a mutual belief in democratic ideals. For decades, they stood together as unwavering partners in an increasingly fractured world. But now, that alliance quivers on the verge of collapse. The handshake has turned into a clenched fist. The world watches as a trusted partnership splinters in real time. President Donald Trump is en route to Canada, not as a welcome guest, but as a looming storm. In the streets of Ottawa, thousands have taken to the pavement. Protesters, ordinary citizens, mothers, teachers, and business owners all stand shoulder to shoulder. Their message is deafening. This is not mere opposition to a foreign leader. It is a collective cry of alarm against what America is becoming. Signs wave defiantly, "No more tyrants," and "We remember the 1930s," invoking dark echoes of history. Donald Trump's appearance at the G7 summit was marked by disorder, confrontation, and ultimately humiliation, according to reactions and coverage of the event. The summit was meant to bring together major allies like Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United States to coordinate on pressing global challenges, including economic policies, the Middle East crisis, and Russia's war in Ukraine. Instead, the gathering was overshadowed by Trump's erratic behavior and inflammatory remarks. Despite the summit's agenda focusing on Middle East tensions and Russia's continued aggression in Ukraine, Trump's actions and rhetoric drew attention away from unified strategy and cooperation. He reportedly left the summit early without offering a clear explanation, which sparked confusion and concern among observers and fellow leaders.
We're control of the spread of weapons of mass destruction subject to.
His departure was announced by Caroline Leavitt, though the justification, potentially linked to tensions in the Middle East, was unconvincing given those very topics were on the G7 agenda. Mark Carney, once a composed centrist, now finds himself elevated to an unexpected role, the voice of millions who feel their country has been thrust into an existential confrontation. The G7 was meant to symbolize cooperation, but instead, it has been hijacked into a battleground. Carney has laid the groundwork for what many expect will be one of the most confrontational face-offs in modern diplomatic history. At the heart of this looming standoff, trade. What once were mundane goods, steel, aluminum, refrigerators, even automobiles, have been transformed into political hostages. Trump's sweeping tariffs have invaded the homes of ordinary Canadians, turning everyday appliances into the front lines of an economic war. Canada pleaded for negotiation. Trump delivered an ultimatum.
The latest tariffs on steel and aluminum are unjustified, they're illegal, they're bad for American workers, bad for American industry.
2 weeks to surrender to his terms or face unrelenting economic force. The G7 roundtable, once a symbol of unity among equals, has been disfigured into a gladiatorial arena. Trump does not approach this summit as a statesman seeking dialogue, but as a general marching into enemy territory, determined to assert dominance. The rituals of diplomacy, the flashes of cameras, the formal handshakes are hollowed out, stripped of sincerity. Behind every handshake lies tension. Behind every smile, simmering resentment. The streets of Ottawa seethe with protests, not driven by fleeting political anger, but by a profound sense of dread. Across North America, voices rise in warning, not rage. For many, this is not hyperbole, it is a chilling historical parallel. Dual citizens, witnesses to history's darkest chapters, tremble as they speak of the similarities to Germany in the 1930s. This is not fear of tax policy, it is fear of authoritarianism creeping across borders. The moral ground is shifting. Canada's resistance is no longer mere policy. It has become a principled stand against what many perceive as an emerging threat to democratic norms. Mark Carney, backed by a unified Canadian public, refuses to bow. He stands firm, not just as a national leader, but as a symbol of defiance against intimidation. Trump, branding himself as the master negotiator, now finds himself isolated as former allies transform into adversaries. His tariffs on Canadian goods are not protecting American workers. They are weaponizing economic interdependence to showcase brute strength. Canadian factories shutter, prices soar, supply chains unravel. Every lost job in Canada bears the imprint of Washington politics, not market forces. The G7 stage has shifted. No longer is it a gathering of allies confronting global problems together. It is now a global display of confrontation, with Trump casting himself as a lone disruptor. The battle playing out is not just over trade policy, but over the very foundation of global trust. Hundreds of signs fill the streets with a unified declaration: tyrants are not welcome here. Those small cardboard placards now reverberate across diplomatic circles.
You got to come back somehow. You got to show support for those who don't want someone in there. We have to let them know that they're not alone.
The world is no longer watching Trump for what he will say, but for who will finally stand against him. As the summit continues, its significance grows larger than the communiques and press briefings that will follow. This will be remembered as the moment when one of the world's most stable alliances cracked, not because of competing interests, but because of ego, because of pride, because Trump's America no longer negotiates, it threatens. And now, for the first time, Canada is saying no. The world holds its breath, witnessing not simply a diplomatic dispute, but the rewriting of alliances that once seemed eternal. Trump's conduct suggested a disregard for the value of international coordination. Rather than fostering solidarity with NATO and EU allies, he attacked democratic cities in the US, claimed Putin only speaks to him, and argued that excluding Russia from the G7 was a mistake, despite Russia's expulsion being a response to its annexation of Crimea. He further asserted that if Russia had remained in the G7, the war in Ukraine wouldn't have occurred, a view seen as echoing Kremlin propaganda. Canadian Prime Minister Carney, chairing the summit, had to shut down a press conference when Trump veered into a bizarre tirade, making it an embarrassing moment for the US and the summit as a whole.
Thank you. That's it. That's it. Thank you very much. Out. Good. Go, guys. Out. Gotta go. Thank you. Katie, let's go. They don't want to do it.
Trump's claim that he leads all global conversations clashed with the reality that other leaders, particularly Prime Minister Carney, exercised authority and control during the proceedings. Behind closed doors, Trump's inability to effectively coordinate with fellow leaders, compounded by his America alone posture, left observers questioning the US commitment to multilateralism. As tensions rise in the Middle East, and adversaries like Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China increasingly collaborate, critics argue that Trump's departure from the summit and refusal to engage meaningfully with allies is both irresponsible and dangerous. This summit, meant to demonstrate unity among global democracies, instead became a stage where Donald Trump isolated the United States, undercut shared goals, and left in a manner viewed by many as petulant and humiliating. Beyond the immediate crisis, this confrontation is igniting a broader conversation on the global stage. What is the cost of unchecked power? As nations watch this high-stakes drama unfold, smaller countries fear their own sovereignty might one day hang in similar balance. The G7, once a beacon of stability, now serves as a stark reminder that even the strongest alliances are vulnerable when personal ambition eclipses collective purpose.